Studios are complicated to run. There's a whole lot of moving parts here. Do you ever wish you could take the whole thing, the technical aspects, and keep it in your pocket wherever you go? Not have to worry about dual licenses, not having to worry about maintaining another machine, but you could have Pro Tools or Reaper or whatever you want with you wherever you go at all times. How about Pro Tools on your iPhone? And yeah, that timeline scrolling. Let's talk about it. Yeah, it can run on your iPad too. It's actually a little easier on the iPad, but the flexibility here to run Pro Tools, kind of crazy. So what's going on here? This is an app called Jump. This is a good time to say they are not sponsoring the video. I have no affiliation with Jump. They don't know I'm making a video. This is, however, sponsored by Sweetwater and Kaiser. More on that later. So what is Jump and why am I super hyped about it? I mean, basically Jump is a remote desktop application that allows you to control your studio computer from anywhere using your iPhone, your iPad, another computer. Think of it as having direct control of your studio computer wherever you are in the world without physically having to be there. And let's be clear, this isn't the first app to do something like this, and I've tried a bunch of them. And again, I have no relationship to them, they're not sponsoring me, I've not spoken to anyone ever at Jump, but I've tried a ton of applications that claim to do what this does, and this is doing it by far the best. So for us in the studio world, mixing, mastering engineers, that means a few game-changing things. First and foremost, you're no longer chained to your studio to do any amount of tasks that you would normally do that aren't mixing. Because this, let's be clear right off the bat, I do not think you should use this to physically mix. What you're losing here is your controlled environment and your speakers. What you gain here is the constant menial tasks that could be done almost by anyone, anywhere, that you don't really have to have a surgical listening environment to be able to do. Did you already finish a mix and basically get everything approved and just have one or two tweaks on this thing? This is perfect. Do you need to bounce stems and deliver those to your client? This is perfect for that. But this isn't just about file management, and it's not just about sending files. I can actually get in here and tweak plugin settings. I have my studio computer right here with me if I want it. All you really need is a stable internet connection, and you can be doing actual work. Now, before we get too excited, one thing this is not designed for, actually, I don't even think it's designed for this. It just happens to be really good at this. One thing Jump is not good at is using it to record in real time. Like, you're not going to be able to plug an instrument in somewhere and do this. This is for basically referencing things on your studio computer. Now, if there was a musician inside your building, you could definitely record them. After all, latency is a thing. But for nearly everything else, this has pretty much been a dream come true. Now, personally, I've been using Jump for about 6 months. It hasn't replaced the work that I've done at the studio, but it has taken my stress level down like crazy to know that if there was one small thing I had to deliver, I didn't have to jump in the car, come to the studio, lose my family time. If I had access to my phone and the internet anywhere in the world, at a rest stop, for example, I could fire off a file and it was done. It got me out of a small pinch like that without having to worry about it. And it genuinely felt like I wasn't losing functionality. It can be a little tricky on the iPhone to do what you want to do when it comes to right-clicking, but on the iPad, you kind of forget you're using an iPad. The more you use this, having the trackpad down here, actually being able to right-click files, which is way easier on something like this than the phone, you have access to do almost anything you would be doing on your main computer. For me, gone are the days of keeping a second machine maintained and upgraded and holding all of my licenses on a second machine or controlling and having an iLock move around. I just have to worry about one machine now and access that whenever I want to. This is pretty cool. Now, setting this whole thing up could not be easier. All you're going to do is go to Jump Desktop, where you can sign up and actually download the desktop application that has to be on the machine that you're wanting to control. I downloaded that for my Mac, and then you can go to the App Store and download the app that you need on whatever device you're trying to use to control your studio machine. this way. I think the app right now is $35. I got it on sale-ish. I paid like $7 or $8 for this thing. But even at $35, this is a steal. This gets rid of so many added costs for me. And again, this is not something this was necessarily designed for. Once you have it downloaded on your computer and you've created an account, you sign in on your iPad or your iPhone or whatever you're trying to control this with, sign in with that same account, and your machine pops up as an option. So when you go to jump and decide to connect to your machine, it pops up and you're there. But one thing, if you're curious about it, okay, so you're thousands of miles away, which I have been before. Do you have to keep your computer awake all the time? No. Let me show you here. I'm gonna set this down. So let's take a walk. So let's go ahead and put this machine to sleep. This thing, for all intents and purposes now, is off. So the computer is asleep. We're gonna wake this thing up, put in my password, don't you look. And we're in. And that is something that I've literally tested from states away. I never had a single issue with it waking the computer up out of hibernation and deep hibernation where it's been asleep for a week at a time to do some work. It's pretty cool. So to show some real world applications here, let's go somewhere else. So here we are in the back of my van, parked next to a body of water, because who doesn't like to watch the ducks while they mix? I'm tethered to my phone for data on my iPad, and I can control and tweak my session or deliver files, and using something like audio movers to hear it on my phone. This way you guys can hear it, but realistically what I would be doing is using something like AirPods or other headphones to reference this. But that's pretty cool. So, though this video is not sponsored by Jump, it is sponsored by Sweetwater and Kaiser. And if you know me, you've been watching the channel, you know I'm a guitar player. I've been playing for a long time, and I have a ton of Kaiser Capos. I don't own another brand of capo. So I got really excited at the opportunity to just show these off. Obviously, you can use a capo like any other capo. Put it on your guitar, you can play, you have a different octave. The thing I really like about Kaisers is if you flip it backwards, you can get a suspended tuning below whatever you're gonna play, making noodling really interesting. And you can play below the capo. A very useful way in the studio or in a live context to play just about any song, or to just add different voicings on top of other guitars that you're recording in the studio. Super easy tip, $24.99. I'll put a link down in the description below. Thank you, Sweetwater. Thank you, Kaiser. Back to the video. So while Jump has revolutionized the way I work and really been conducive to my work-life balance and time with my family, time at home, time at the studio, and being able to turn my mind off, it is important to talk about its limitations, and not to dampen the excitement here, but to use it to its fullest potential, we have to know how to use it within its means. So the elephant in the room, this is not meant for real-time recording. One interesting piece that I have used it for was someone was here at the studio, couldn't figure something out. I was able to remote in, tweak it, and I actually have a USB-C camera mounted to my desk here, so I was able to view what was happening in the room, as well as troubleshoot for the people who were here. That was a pretty cool time, and I didn't have to physically come to the studio to do it. Don't think you're going to be able to use everything, take your guitar on a road trip and use your gear here. It will not work like that. We're not sending audio from us to the studio computer. What we're doing is basically hijacking the audio from the machine itself, which you can do inside the Jump app, although I use audio movers. It's just a higher quality stream. It's helpful to have that on a different setup for me because I am HDX, and getting that system audio doesn't really work for me in the Jump context. But if you're a Pro Tools native, or if you're using any other DAW, that will work, and you can listen to your feed in the Jump app on the machine you're using, which is pretty cool. So although it's not going to replace this setup for me, what it has replaced is needing a complete second setup to take with me at all times, maintain multiple licenses for my plugins, basically having two useful systems at all times, or knowing that I have to possibly give up time with my family and my kids to go do this. If I can just walk away for a minute as if I'm taking a phone call or writing an email, bounce the stems I need from my phone or my iPad, and I'm right back to it, and nobody knows any different. Like here's a real for instance for you. I was an 8-hour drive from here when I got a call from a client that needed a tweak pretty fast on a session that was for a label. I didn't have to remix anything. I was replacing files, so I pull up my iPad, I sit there, I'm still able to talk to everyone around me. I pop my AirPods in for a moment, make the tweak, send off the files. It's pressed, it's live, it got approved. There you go. So while it's not good for everything, for these few tasks that it's good for, and it's relatively low price, very much worth it for me. For things like reviewing sessions, session prep when I'm not here in the building, making mix adjustments, small adjustments. I wouldn't go making large mix uninformed decisions if you're not in front of your speakers in a controlled environment. File management, and of course file delivery and all that stuff, which we've already talked about. It's those tasks. If you're on the fence of, do I need an assistant? Do I need somebody to help me with this? Keeping you from being in the building 24/7, but if you can do some of these things easily from anywhere, that makes your stress lower and you are more ready when you walk into this building or wherever your studio happens to be to get work done because you weren't there all the time. It has made it a joy to come to work for me, knowing that I don't have to be here to do absolutely everything that happens in this building. So there you have it. You need to access your studio anywhere, anytime. Let me know what you think. What apps are you using to do stuff like this? This is a super interesting thing for me. I've been very excited about what this is. Do you have some other apps out there that are kind of doing the same thing? Let us know in the comments down below. Hit the like button if you like it. Subscribe for more. Thank you, Sweetwater and Kaiser, for sponsoring this video. I'm Resident Loser Jeremy, and I'll see you in the next one.